So, when we left off the story of the Phil Spencer departure late last week, not late last week. Was it late last week? What day is it? It's Monday. Yeah, late last week. Can you tell I don't have a real job? I'm like, what day is it? When we left off the story at the end of last week, I had the feeling, as did many other people, that there was a lot more to the story than we were hearing about. Okay, like there's a couple of things where you could say maybe this was like planned for months and then they slowly were transitioning and they just dropped the news on the public super suddenly. But in the days that have followed, it's become clear that there's a lot more to this than we initially thought. Okay, like a lot more, and it's not as clean cut as we initially were led to believe. Okay, not that clear cut. What am I referring to specifically? Well, things started and rumors started trickling out over the weekend and Friday. For example, there was this clip that started going around from Kind of Funny Games podcast where Greg Miller said that this was not planned. I'll just let this play. Wrong button. Sorry. Professional streamer.
I've been past something that, again, reiterates to me. I'm not going to read it, but like reiterates of like, oh, no, this was not planned. No.
Yeah.
100%. Well, man, people are still debating the.
That's
saying,
crazy.
Chad, if you trust us, what I'm seeing this was not planned.
Make of that what you will. It's been reiterated a few other times. There were some other things that were just kind of strange where it suggested that maybe things were not that amicable. For example, Sarah Bond, who's going to be at the center of a lot of today's discussions, okay? Kind of at the core of a lot of it. Sarah Bond was president of Xbox, and she resigned. Like, it's revealed Phil Spencer's retiring. That sounds nice. Sarah Bond's resigning. She's quitting. That's strange. Why would she do that? If she truly does appreciate and believe in the vision of what they're doing and where they're moving, why is she quitting all of a sudden? That's strange. You look at the statements from the people involved. For example, Microsoft executives publicly thanked Sarah Bond for her time at Xbox. Oliver Darko clipped this. Phil Spencer mentioned it. Matt Booty ignored her and did not acknowledge her. Asha did not acknowledge her. And Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, did not acknowledge her. She posted to LinkedIn, however, I think it was 3.5 hours before the news broke that she was quitting. And it was a quoted post on LinkedIn. People have experimented with this. You cannot schedule a quote post. It doesn't work with like the tools in LinkedIn. So she had to manually post like an accessibility call out thing 3.5 hours before this happened. Kind of weird if you know you're quitting, that you come in to work the morning you're quitting for 2 hours, make a bunch of posts like nothing's happening, and then you quit. Kind of weird. And the fact that like they're not acknowledging her in any of the statements while she's quitting, that's kind of weird. The whole thing started to stink. It started to just feel like something is off. There's a piece of the puzzle missing. I spoke to somebody who is, I'll just say, very close to Xbox, and they had received this news an hour before the IGN article. They got a direct email from like the PR whatever person at Xbox telling them Phil Spencer is retiring and Sarah Bond is resigning and this is what's happening. They gave him like the rundown an hour before the IGN post, which would mean that she made that LinkedIn post only 2.5 hours before all of this was like being officially communicated through the PR team to people. It takes 30 minutes maybe to write the email. So she made that LinkedIn post, something happened, and 2 hours later they were prepping the statements that she was resigning. Weird. And then this post from The Verge came up, which is pretty significant, okay? Pretty significant. The Verge, Tom Warren specifically, is doing this reporting. Inside Microsoft's big Xbox leadership shakeup. Microsoft has a new gaming CEO who wants to bring Xbox back from the brink. There's a few things revealed in here that are, I'll just say, remarkable, okay? Truly remarkable. Xbox fans have been anticipating the retirement of Microsoft gaming CEO Phil Spencer for years, but what most hadn't expected was the departure of Xbox president Sarah Bond too. For many outside the company, Bond seemed like Spencer's natural successor, a deputy of sorts. And this is very true. Everywhere I've ever seen Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond is close behind. When I saw them at Summer Games Fest, for example. Have you seen their like little table? Summer Playdays 2025. Damn it, no. It's specifically when they went to Summer Games Fest and they had the kiddie pool. You know what I'm talking about? They had the kiddie pool. Oh my God, I can't find it. Oh God, that's cringe. That's cringe. Fallout 76 Summer Games Fest. I'm sorry. This will be worth it. Oh, well, here's a clip of a guy I know. Here.
Praise be to Todd.
Praise.
Seeing fishing.
Praise be to him. This. So literally this was a corner by the food trucks where they had this literal tent pitched up to talk about Fallout 76 and the update where they added fishing to it. This is why you should subscribe to our Clips channel, just so you know. When I saw Phil Spencer go to the Fallout 76 booth, I walked right past as he was sitting down in the chair. Sarah Bond was with him. She was always wearing her big Gucci sunglasses and everything. I'm sorry, it's just the saddest thing I've ever seen that this is. It's really sad. I'm sorry. But she was always there. And the understanding from everybody was that she was going to she was the heir apparent. She was going to be replacing him when all was said and done. When Phil retired, Sarah was being prepped to take over. Matt Booty would end up being in probably a creative position, leading studios, but she was going to be the big decision maker. And the expectation was basically that was because she was able to get the Activision deal across the finish line, $70 billion acquisition. She did it. That was her baby. She accomplished it. And that was basically going to be her reward, was that she was going to be the heir apparent. Well, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella and Microsoft CFO Amy Hood clearly didn't agree. Instead of picking Bond for the role, Microsoft promoted Asha Sharma, a former Microsoft AI executive, to the top of Xbox. The decision to overlook Bond might surprise many Xbox fans, but for the more than a dozen current and former Microsoft employees I've been speaking to, it's felt inevitable in recent months. Phil Spencer, Microsoft's long-term Xbox chief, made the decision to resign from Microsoft late last year after a tough few years for Xbox. The giant Activision Blizzard acquisition had dragged on for far longer than Microsoft had anticipated, and the need to grow the business saw Microsoft walk away from the Xbox exclusive games in favor of a multi-platform strategy. Microsoft has also been trying to reinvent the Xbox brand beyond the console with mixed results. So his suggestion, and what he's talked to people and heard, is that Phil did decide to retire late last year. There are clips. Do I have one pulled up? There are clips specifically of Phil saying like 3 to 4 months ago that he wasn't retiring and that he's got way more stuff to do and he's not ready to retire and all this. And, clearly something changed. But I think it's natural for an executive to go back and forth and be like, no, I don't plan on retiring until they are planning to retire, right? So I don't find that to be like a gotcha that he said he wasn't retiring when he was actively planning for it. What does seem to have been a bit of a system shock was the suddenness that Sarah Bond, I think, pivoted away. I think her expectation was that she was going to be named the successor, and when she wasn't, she took her ball and went home. Continuing on, Spencer's decision led to months of careful successor planning. It was announced to the world on Friday, but it was supposed to be today. Okay. So they were supposed to reveal it today, and then something happened. Microsoft was forced to announce early because it started to leak, and IGN was planning to run a story according to sources familiar with the situation. This is what the person I talked to said, which was that he had gotten this information an hour before the IGN story. The IGN story broke, and then everything was out. So it was kind of beyond out of their control at that point. But apparently IGN were the ones that kind of broke the dam and started it. That kicked off a day of chaos where teams inside Xbox were hearing the news for the first time through reporters and news outlets instead of via internal memos. The team running Sarah Bond's social media accounts was so unprepared that a LinkedIn post inviting people to provide feedback about Xbox accessibility features went live just before her departure was announced. It sat for hours until Bond's team eventually posted her own memo. Okay. So her team was okay. Did they really not have the memo for her resignation prepared on Friday when they were going to post it Monday morning? Really? Okay. Okay, interesting. Microsoft executives shared 4 memos with Xbox teams on Friday, but only Phil Spencer mentioned Bond. Satya Nadella, Microsoft Gaming EVP, Matt Booty, and new Microsoft Gaming CEO Asha Sharma all had kind words for Spencer, but no mention of Bond. Even Bond's own memo to her teams didn't arrive until hours after the announcement and wasn't part of Microsoft's blog. That was what was interesting, is that this news is like breaking. They have, like, in a collection of Microsoft's blog, they have Satya's statements, Asha's statements, Matt's statements, and Phil's statements. And then Sarah's just gone, like just not there, which is weird. Some Xbox employees I've been speaking with saw the writing on the wall for Bond last year. She was promoted to Xbox president in October of 2023, just days after Microsoft finalized its $68.7 billion deal to acquire Activision Blizzard. Bond had been crucial in getting the deal over the line with regulators and slowly started becoming the face of Xbox as Spencer took on the complicated duties of integrating a huge new business into Microsoft Gaming. 6 months after Bond's promotion, Xbox executive Kareem Chowdhury, who reported directly to Bond, departed Microsoft and triggered another shakeup of some teams inside Xbox. Chowdhury was key to Xbox's backward compatibility support and helped bring Xbox cloud gaming to life as xCloud back in 2019. Just weeks after Chowdhury departed, former Xbox chief marketing officer Jarrett West also left Microsoft in June of 2024, and that meant the Xbox marketing team was now reporting directly to Bond. Do you see where this is going? Do you know what's about to happen? Do you see what's about to happen? Yeah, the chat on screen isn't very, no, oh my God. Yeah, you're right. I'll just do that. We gotta fix it. I'll add it to the list of things. Don't worry. That meant that the Xbox marketing team was now reporting directly to Bond. If you don't know where this is going, I mean, she all of a sudden is in charge of marketing. What was the big marketing push that happened right as she got full control of it? A month later, Xbox delivered a marketing campaign that signaled people didn't need to buy an Xbox console anymore. The message was that you don't need an Xbox to play Xbox because games were available through Xbox Cloud Gaming on TVs. This was all part of the Xbox Everywhere strategy that Bond had been pursuing, a vision to move the Xbox brand beyond its roots in console hardware. Months later, the quote-unquote "This is an Xbox" campaign launched with commercials that positioned a phone or a tablet as an Xbox instead of just a console. It was a confusing campaign, and I'm told it offended many Xbox employees internally. It's not really a surprise to me that Xbox employees didn't like the messaging of "This is an Xbox. This is an Xbox. You're an Xbox." Like, not surprising to me that they didn't like it. And you'll see as this continues, it seems like she made a very confident and firm push in one direction, which works and can help propel you into the stratosphere of the corporate structure if that's the right direction, if that is successful. If you're confidently going in the wrong direction, though, you're going to get left behind. And that seems to be what happened here, because I think we can all agree that did not work at all. Whatever you think of like Xbox's broader strategy, their need to go cross-platform and distribute games everywhere and all that, whatever you think about that and like getting rid of console exclusives, this Xbox Everywhere campaign was a failure. Like, it just was. You know what it told people? You know what they took away from all of this? They didn't take away from it like, oh, Xbox gaming is everywhere. We are all gamers united under one vision, which I think is what she wanted. What it signaled to everybody was, don't buy an Xbox. When everything is an Xbox, nothing is. When everything is special, nothing is. It signaled the opposite of what I think the intention was, which was that, okay, so everything's an Xbox. So basically nothing is. So the platform lost its identity and meaning. And it was pivoting so far away from its origins as a console that it just left people confused. Caleb, thank you for the 20 months. Hey, Luke, this is Sarah Bond's mom. She's really upset you didn't like her marketing plan. Gamers are just toxic and don't get it. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah Bond's mom. I'm sorry. I should have been more supportive. I should have supported the brand more. Let's see. Continuing on with this. Okay, so employees did not like it. That doesn't surprise me at all. And no matter what you think of it, it did not work. If the vision was that this would unite all gamers together under one umbrella, that everything's an Xbox, it didn't work. Instead, it confused people. It really, really undermined the identity of the brand of Xbox. And it definitely doubled down on causing Xbox hardware to absolutely nosedive in terms of sales. And it also, this is what like really has driven me so crazy. Yes, you can stream games on smart TVs. Yes, you technically can do that. The vast majority of Americans, at least, do not have internet connectivity anywhere close to what is needed to make that experience good. And even if they did, it is still inferior to what you will get with a dedicated set-top box. Now, yes, there's added cost with that. Buying an actual console is more expensive than just pressing a button and streaming it through the cloud. That is more expensive, sure. I agree with you. It doesn't like change the fact that the experience is still lesser. People will still experience massive lag spikes. They will still experience like compression artifacting. It's just, and setting aside the fact that people also just like to own games that they play, you know, so being able or being reliant on a streaming service is not ideal for many, many gamers. Quote, this was all part of the Xbox Everywhere strategy that Bond had been pursuing, a vision to move the Xbox brand beyond its roots in console hardware. Months later, the This Is an Xbox campaign launched with commercials that positioned a phone or tablet as an Xbox instead of just a console. This Is an Xbox debuted months after Bond appeared on stage at Bloomberg's Technology Summit and announced an Xbox mobile gaming store that was supposed to launch in July of 2024. It still doesn't exist almost 2 years later, although attempts to redefine Xbox were clearly tied to the mobile store efforts. Microsoft still went ahead with the This Is an Xbox after the store was delayed. I kind of forgot about this, dude. I'm going to be real. Yeah. Mobile gaming store is launching in July. It will be available on the web first with Microsoft's first party games. Again, this is that like paralyzed by spreadsheet thing where they're looking at the spreadsheets and being like, this many gamers are on mobile. And it's the exact same thing that happened back in 2013. I'm going to bring this up. Like, do you guys remember some of the press conferences and stuff back in the day where they were saying the future is mobile? Everybody has a cell phone. And we have this data that shows that mobile cell phone gaming is like twice as big and growing way faster than console gaming or PC gaming. So we need to meet them where they're at. And it ended up being a huge like waste of time. We all remember Diablo Immortal. Like, you all have phones, don't you? It's a literal meme at this point, right?
At Guts of Rivia donated 50
But it was a fundamental
United Arab
misunderstanding,
Emirates
you know?
dirhams through Super Chat. Consoles haven't been good since the 7th General. That was nearly 20 years ago. God, I am old.
I mean, you said it. So you said the thing. I'm just here. Thank you for the generous super chat. I do absolutely think that there is, in this case, a conflation of audiences. And I think that this is what comes from executives looking at the data and not understanding that the labels for that data could be misleading or even lead to false conclusions and mistakes. Just like when those executives looked at the data and said, oh, we have all of these gamers on mobile, so we should make mobile experiences. We have all of these gamers that love the Wii. So if we make the Kinect, we'll get all of those gamers to move over. We have all of these gamers that love playing live service games. So we'll just take our core IP and make them live service. All of these things. It's a fundamental misunderstanding where they whittle down gamers into one monolith, which they are not. They are not. The people that play Candy Crush are mostly wine moms and grandmas from Idaho, okay? Maybe the occasional college student, teenager, younger people that are playing it in between shifts at work, between customers or whatever. But those people are not the same ones who are going to be engaging with like God of War Ragnarok. Like, they are just different groups, okay? Are they all technically gamers? Sure, yes. But the vast majority of the people that make up like the millions playing mobile games, they are a separate group than the millions playing these console games, than the millions playing PC live service games, like maybe a League of Legends or something. They are each their own little trough and bubble. And so I think you can start to see why they would make these decisions when handed the data that they are looking at. But I think because it's a misunderstanding of just how varied the gaming community is, I think that's what gets them into trouble, because you just can't treat them the same way. And specifically like console gamers and PC gamers, what you can get away with on mobile, you cannot get away with for them. You cannot do the mobile gaming monetization on a console game. You cannot do the loot box thing like you do in a mobile game for a PC game. They will not like it. Even when Helldivers 2 came to PC and they had a requirement to log into your PSN account, gamers were like mass downvoting and review bombing the game. People forget that because Helldivers 2 ended up popping off. But just the PSN requirement almost caused that game to stumble right out of the gate because it was a really stupid requirement and gamers didn't like it. Mobile gamers, they don't give a crap. If it's like connect your Facebook account, like they'll do it. They don't care. But like on console and PC, it's just different. It's a different group of people. The pivot away from console led by Bond under Spencer's direction hasn't gone well for Xbox, demonstrably so. I mean, again, even if you can understand this, and this is one thing we've seen with like different outlets and analysis that are saying like, oh, well, the data points in this direction. And I think we could see this and understand why they're going in this direction. If you look at this data, I get all of that. The point is that it hasn't worked. Okay. It just hasn't. Jacob Navok, I'm not sure, former president office at Square Enix Holdings. He has a couple of predictions in the same vein, following in pursuit of like the Roblox revelations from a week or two ago with how much that company and game is growing. And he thinks that, for example, they're going to sell or spin off in the next 3 years, Activision Blizzard and or Bethesda and ZeniMax and or King as well, just to get cash for AI investments and stuff. We'll see if that happens. But like all of this is tied together. All of this is part of the same broader vision. And I think it's failed demonstrably. Most of the current and former Xbox employees I've spoken to in recent days are relieved that Bond is leaving Microsoft. I've heard from multiple sources that Bond has been tough to work with and built a team structure that meant if you didn't follow the vision or questioned it, you were out. Most have praised her ability to strike partnerships with companies and developers, though. Unfortunately, we've heard a lot of cases of this type of thing, where if you offer a conflicting opinion within a company, you're out. We've heard it with so many game developers that end up releasing catastrophic flops, where it's like, yeah, if you said something, you were seen as unsupportive. We heard that with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, where people would have problems with what they were doing or be like, I'm not sure this is a great idea or that this is working. And you were seen as like a hater. And this is literally like, yeah, people are saying that if you didn't follow the vision or even questioned it, you were out. Starts to make sense why you ended up with a company that was like so confidently going in the wrong direction for so long, because any sort of conflicting opinion was shed. I wrote in December 2024 that Bond had quote unquote staked her career reputation on the idea of Xbox being everywhere across multiple platforms and devices. This also involved carefully managing her image both internally and externally, making her appear to be a gamer like Phil Spencer. In reality, she wasn't. Which, shocker. This is something that's going to come up when we talk about Asha here in a minute, because they are trying very hard to frame Asha as a gamer through and through. And I agree with Tom Phillips' statement here. I think it's probably not like the best idea to try and frame somebody who's not a gamer as a gamer. It's fine if she's not a gamer. Don't pretend like she is. That like, I don't understand why we have to do that, but we'll get there. I understand that Bond's strategy had been failing internally and had been questioned multiple times. Bond had tried to push mobile and cloud over console to reach potentially millions more Xbox customers, but the result has been a classic case of chasing tomorrow's customers by neglecting today's, which is absolutely what has been happening. They've been so focused on trying to build out the people who would play games through the cloud on their TV, the people who would stream the games through their phone, that everybody else who they currently have, who have the consoles and invested in the ecosystem, are left behind going, what about me? Like, you're not giving me any incentive to stay in this ecosystem and to stay on this platform. Like, why would I? I have a Series X upstairs. I have a Series S, funnily enough, in a bag under my bed because I think the last time I used it was I packed it up for a vacation in December of 2024 when I brought it to Universal Studios because I needed to film a video on the last season update of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and my save file was on Xbox. And literally the only reason I bought it on Xbox was because you could do the New Zealand exploit and start playing it because of the earlier time zone. But you couldn't do that on PlayStation. So like that, I bought it because of what I do for a living, and that's the only reason I was playing it on that platform. Otherwise, I would have played it on PC or PlayStation, because there's just no reason otherwise to be on the platform. And I think it's been sitting under my bed since then. Like when I unpacked the luggage from that trip over a year ago. And so like, I just, this is the thing though, because they've given no reason to have that plugged in or booted up anywhere else. Say what you will about console exclusives, they do work for justifying hardware purchases, but you have to be consistent. You can't do it for one release and expect immediate results. It takes years of building up a library showing, like, look at this library you get access to if you buy in, but they just haven't done that. But I think that this is perfectly put. I mean, the result has been a classic case of chasing tomorrow's customers by neglecting today's. Phil Spencer's retirement has seemed inevitable to Xbox employees, particularly over the last year. In February of last year, Spencer took a long vacation, and I'm told some teams had to wait weeks for sign-off on some key changes. Shortly after this vacation, rumors started circulating inside Microsoft that Spencer was getting ready to retire. Microsoft was eventually forced to deny the rumors in July, claiming Spencer wouldn't be retiring, quote-unquote, anytime soon, which is some of the reporting that we've pointed to before, where July 2nd of 2025, they had to come out and be like, he's not retiring. Like, stop, chill. Daddy, chill. And it ended up not being accurate because he was planning to retire. And I want to be clear, like, I don't blame Phil for retiring. If I were in Phil's shoes, dude, I probably would have retired a year ago. Like, if you are on a sinking freaking ship and everybody is blaming you, even though it's probably a lot to do with Satya Nadella, with Amy Hood, like the CFO, with what Sarah Bond is doing. You put Sarah Bond in position. She's got the CEO on her side. She's pushing this mobile stuff, even though you're like, this is a bad idea. I would be sick and tired of it too while I'm getting all the blame, you know? I'd be like, I'm so sick of this. I'm just ready to leave. I don't blame him at all. Especially, let's just be perfectly honest. This next generation launch is going to be a rough one. It's going to be rough. It really will be. Everything is going to be stupid expensive. Gamers are going to have all sorts of different expectations with launch titles, with whether things are going to be exclusive. The messaging from companies is all over the place as to what you're actually going to get. It's going to be a rough time, I think, for both Xbox and potentially PlayStation 2. I think PlayStation has a more coherent vision for what they're going to do. I personally expect they'll have things like the Bloodborne remake and stuff for launch on the PlayStation 6, but I still think it's going to be a rough time to be, you know, in charge of one of these companies. And I mean, we're seeing it here. I mean, even I just saw, I think in January. It was January. The PlayStation 5 outsold the Switch 2, which is crazy. They just launched the Switch 2 and the PlayStation 5 is outselling it. Like, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. It's a tough time to launch new hardware for sure. So he took this long vacation, and after he got back, people were like, yeah, I think he's prepping. I have a family member who desperately wants to retire, like desperately, and is on vacation like every other week. Like, if you text him any day, there's like a 50% chance he's on vacation. Like, he's so ready and just done. So that doesn't surprise me. When people are revving up to like walk away, you get a feeling for it. With Spencer's retirement official, Microsoft is hitting the reset button on Bond's Xbox strategy instead of embracing it further. Microsoft Gaming CEO Asha Sharma is now promising, quote unquote, the return of Xbox, which, to be clear, is something that we have heard before. Phil has said this many times, so like, this isn't new. In a clear message to employees that the strategy over the past few years had not been working. This, I think, is the key point though. We've heard executives say, we're returning to the golden era and all that. Every executive wants it to be in the golden era, sure. But I think specifically what they're describing is that return. That indicates being somewhere other than here, which again suggests how we got here was wrong. We're going to go back the other way and go a different direction, which I think is good because clearly what they've been doing has not been working at all. King Cole, thank you for the 5. There are good games, but I think this is the dark age of gaming. COVID made a lot of good companies get caught up in the money. Well, it specifically primed them in like a once in a century sort of way to spend free money because debt was literally cheaper than inflation. You could literally just get free money to go and do things you probably shouldn't have been doing. And that's what happened. And we're seeing those games releasing now, like all of these insane like games where you're like, who greenlit this? This would not have been greenlit 10 years ago. But, you know, these $200 million projects that used to be big AAA single player games, and now they're all just live service slop that is garbage. And so yeah, I think that the business is in a tough time. We have more incredible games today on average, like every year, than we've had probably at any point in the history of the industry. But as far as the industry's health is concerned, like companies and layoffs and all that, yeah, it's a bad time. I want to return to the renegade spirit that built Xbox in the first place, she says. I don't personally know what that means, but hopefully that just means bold action and returning to the roots. That's my hope. Xbox employees I've been speaking to have been concerned about the Sharma appointment, particularly because of her previous role as an AI executive at Microsoft. There is also concern about her lack of industry experience in entertainment and gaming. Sharma has been clear that she's not a gamer and has spent the weekend responding to people on X and even taking some game recommendations. Some Xbox employees worry she'll force AI into everything Xbox does, but Sharma was clearly ready for that reaction. Quote, as monetization and AI evolve and influence this future, we will not chase short-term efficiency or flood our ecosystem with soulless AI slop, said Sharma in her memo. Games are and always will be art crafted by humans and created with the most innovative technology provided by us. Now I have a few points on this. Number one, I'll believe it when I see it. Whenever I see an AI executive saying, we won't put slop out, those are the same executives that have been pushing for like all of the slop we've gotten. Okay. So like, I'll believe it when I see it. Secondly, I do have to give her kudos. This already is way clearer messaging. It might be lies, but it's clearer messaging than we've gotten from any Xbox executive over the last like 5 years. Last 5 years, nobody knows what the plan is in terms of exclusives, or how many games are coming to these other platforms. When are they coming? Are they coming a month after launch, day and date, 6 months after launch? Are you going to start pumping AI stuff into all of these? Other studios like Halo Studios have been hiring like AI executives to go in and work there, but they don't talk about it publicly as if they're ashamed of it. There's no clear messaging. Nobody knows anything about it. This is at least being pretty clear. And this is one thing I did see mentioned many times in articles discussing Asha from previous roles. She's very good at clearly stating what she wants and leading her team in achieving that clear vision. She doesn't flip-flop. Like once she knows what she wants to do, she does it. The other thing she's known for is her time at Instacart. Her whole thing, the reason that she was brought on by Microsoft is because she has one talent, it seems. I'm sure many talents, but she has one massive talent, okay? User acquisition. That's her bread and butter, baby. That's her bread and butter. She was in charge of user acquisition at Instacart. Her whole thing was all about getting new customers into the fold. And that definitely has been a problem for Xbox. They have not been adding gamers other than like, I guess you could say PlayStation gamers buying Xbox games that go to the platform, but they've not been building the tent, their own tent. They've been going to other tents and getting stuff from there, but they're not expanding their own tent, right? That's what she does. That's why Microsoft hired her to work at Core AI, that team. And that's why now I think she's been recruited for this specifically, that she is all about understanding how to get people into the tent to grow it. So I think that's a big piece of this. The other concern is that she's been appointed by Nadella as some sort of executioner of the Xbox console. Her memo doesn't suggest that, and Microsoft could have easily appointed Matt Booty into that kind of role to push game publishing instead of the Xbox console. I get the impression from sources that Microsoft wants a turnaround and is worried about losing Xbox, as it's one of its only remaining successful consumer brands. This is true. This is one of the big things that I think is often missed. Microsoft makes the vast majority of their money from institutional revenue, from like data centers, from stuff like that, Microsoft Cloud, Azure, that type of thing. And that's great until the industrial side of the economy takes a hit. You know, like say interest rates skyrocket again for whatever reason, and all of a sudden money gets much more expensive to borrow and lend back and forth. You'll see data centers start to constrict. You'll see companies being much more careful with their money, not taking on all these contracts, and then their core business starts to get pretty brittle and might be in trouble. So it's good to have a diversified business where you have consumer stuff and you have commercial stuff, industry stuff. And Xbox is one of their few things where they get to sell something and work directly with consumers, which I think is important. With that being said, if the people, that his sources are saying that Microsoft specifically wants a turnaround, that to me is encouraging, because as far as I can tell, just my opinion, cancel me, I don't care, it's my opinion. As far as I can tell, there is a very, very clear direction they need to go, okay? They have been working for about 5 years, hiking in one very clear direction. And we'll just say that this is like the mountaintop, okay? And then this is kind of the valley, and then there's a cliff. Okay? They've been marching confidently towards the cliff. And the whole time there's people internally who are like, guys, maybe we should go back the other way. This isn't working. And Sarah Bond has been like, no, this is fine. It's fine. Trust me. Are you doubting me? Get out. You're fired. And they've just continued to drop and drop and drop and drop. Now to do a pivot does mean that there's going to be periods of growth and contraction and stuff, because you're climbing back up the hill and it's going to be tough. But as far as I can tell, I think this is a very clear direction to head. Just do like basically the opposite of what you've been doing. Now, realistically, I don't think that they're going to go total 180. I don't think they're going to like undo exclusives. I saw people asking in chat earlier. They were like, do you think that they're going to go back and now Fable is going to be Xbox exclusive or something? No, I think if something's been announced as as a cross-platform title, it'll release as one. What I think we're going to see happen is some pretty big moves and pivots when it comes to the money losers. Yes, Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard was like the biggest deal in gaming history, $70 billion. It is also, by pretty much every metric we can measure, it's not worked. It was a mistake. They bought it at peak price. They've not gotten much of anything out of it. Reportedly, Xbox's implementation of Call of Duty into Game Pass loses them about $300 million every release that needs to then be paid for by all of the other games on Game Pass. So they have to increase the margins and everything for everything else to be for Call of Duty to be the loss leader. And the whole idea was they bring it into Game Pass and that would balloon up signups and subscriptions. That has not happened. So going back to this post by Jacob Navok, this wouldn't surprise me. If they sell or spin off as a dedicated entity, Activision Blizzard, that would not surprise me. I think they keep Bethesda and ZeniMax. I think they keep that. Same with King. I think King they'll keep. I would not be surprised if they go to like the Saudis and say, hey, do you guys want to buy Activision from us? Like, I would not be surprised if they did that. I think it's been more of a difficulty for them than you would think. And for people being like, oh, well, I don't know if you could do that. I don't know why they would do that, because they'd probably be selling it at a loss. They would be. But I think for Microsoft at this point, the $70 billion kind of albatross around their neck is making things more difficult than easier. Because again, it's not that it's $70 billion and it's making them $1 billion a year or $2 billion a year. It's like actively holding them back because COD is so expensive and it's not driving new signups. So I think we could see either it spins off or they'll go and they'll like take Call of Duty out of Game Pass again. It'll go back to being a $70 game, and that's what it is. If you want it, you pay $70, and I that would not surprise me at all if they pull it out of Game Pass. And they'll have certain tiers that they'll clearly delineate where certain games are in Game Pass day one, certain massive games are not. And I think they'll actually transform Game Pass into being much more of a PlayStation Plus catalog style subscription. I think it's not going to have the massive stuff day one. I think that stuff will be probably like full price for 6 months or for a year, and they'll have some clear delineation of when it comes, and they'll be clear about that. But I think that the Game Pass especially is going to be shaken up a lot, and that's also backed up. I don't have the source for it, but that's also backed up by the fact that basically nobody except Phil Spencer talked about Game Pass in their statements. Asha didn't, as far as I recall. Satya didn't. Like, the focus has been on how do we get Xbox back together? And I think that Game Pass is going to be shaken up a lot. I do not think in a year we'll be looking at Game Pass and it'll look the same at all. Cat Attack, thank you for the 5. I think a lot of people are forgetting that Microsoft has a 30% profit margin requirement. This new CEO is going to have to cut hard. I think cut hard, yes. I think it's also the key is that I think that the loss leaders they've had, I think Satya is sick of it. I mean, if you were losing 300, like Phil went to him and said, I think we should buy this company for close to $70 billion. It'll grow Game Pass. We'll grow it to like 50 million users and monthly subscribers. I think we'll grow it out like this. And it turned out to like be a gamble that was a huge miscalculation. Instead, it's losing them money because it's on Game Pass, sure, but there's not people leaving PlayStation to sign up for Game Pass because they can't get Game Pass on PlayStation. And that's part of the big like miscalculation of this whole thing, which was that, yeah, if we go cross-platform, we can sell games to everybody. That's true. But like if your big business is tied up in Game Pass and Game Pass is not on the other platforms while your platform is shrinking. Okay, so you basically have Game Pass available on PC, the Xbox platform, which is shriveling. So like how does this work? How does this work? If they could get Game Pass on PlayStation, I think, oh yeah, it explodes. But as long as their core platform is shrinking, I don't think it makes sense. I don't think it works. And so I think there's a couple routes that Asha could go. And I'm sure that this is part of why she got the job, is because she pitched what her vision was to Satya and he liked it. And so she has a plan. Anybody who's like, yeah, she'll be figuring it out. No, she would not be handed the reins of like 22,000 employees if they were not confident in the direction she wanted to take it. So she has a plan. We'll just have to see what it is. But I think it's probably restructuring Game Pass significantly because I think it's clear doubling down on Game Pass, doubling down on it hasn't worked while simultaneously doing the everything is an Xbox. That just doesn't seem to work. It just doesn't. It devalues the brand and makes people not take Game Pass seriously. What she could do is double down on like the console platform, grow the tent, and then make Game Pass a benefit and like an exclusive aspect of being in that tent. So yeah, you can't get it on PlayStation, but you can get it on Xbox hardware that you can't get anywhere else because not everything is an Xbox. An Xbox is an Xbox. So if you want Game Pass, you need this box. You need to be in the tent. That's what makes it exclusive and special. If she can do that, maybe that's the vision. Maybe the vision is just restructure it while doing multi-platform stuff. Time will tell. But I think the key point is Game Pass will not look the same in a year. I think it'll be very, very different. Those who know Sharma better describe her as enthusiastic, willing to learn, and very capable of getting teams to execute on a clear vision rather than coming in as a product executioner. She also has a history at Instacart and Meta of overseeing platform launches and getting people to use products, the type of user acquisition that Xbox has failed at in recent years. Ditto. Yes, exactly. It's like her bread and butter is that she can get people to use stuff. Like she's good at that. Sharma's non-gaming credentials don't mean she can't do a good job at Xbox, but it will still be a tough gig to step into the shoes of Phil Spencer, who is widely respected inside and outside of Microsoft. He will be remembered for the impact he had in turning Xbox around more than a decade ago. Xbox could have easily died after the Xbox One disaster, but Spencer made transformative decisions that have benefited the entire gaming industry. And I do think this is true. And people have pointed to it. I forget who said it. Was it Destin, maybe? I don't have the tab up, so forgive me if it was somebody else. But somebody described it as like, I think Phil Spencer is going to go through his George Lucas renaissance where he's taken all the flack for years and years and years, but now that somebody that's not a gamer comes in, I think people are going to kind of look back at him maybe in the same way that people look at like Sean Layden or Reggie Fils-Aimé, and they will appreciate him now that he's gone. I'm hopeful that Asha ends up being great and fantastic. Hopefully in a year we're like, oh my God, it's so refreshing. But we'll see. We'll see. I also want to touch on the idea that once again, the non-gaming credentials thing I can't read. Don't mean she can't do a good job at Xbox. This is key. One of the most refreshing statements we've heard in recent memory was actually from Strauss Zelnick here.
At Edgar Vasquez 9580 donated $10 through Super Chat. RIP Xbox 2026. Anecdotally, my friends are leaving the Xbox ecosystem in droves to PC.
Well, didn't you hear? PCs are Xboxes too. So they didn't technically leave. Gotcha. It's the ultimate get out of jail free card. Can you imagine Satya Nadella calling Sarah Bond being like, hey, can you come to my office? I need to talk to you about the performance of Xbox. She shows up in the office. He's like, so why is everybody leaving Xbox? Xbox as a platform is shriveling. It's dying. No, it's not. Xbox is everything now. So PC, mobile, PlayStation, Switch, it's all an Xbox. So technically we went from, 50 million users to 3 billion. So you're welcome. Like, it's the ultimate get out of jail free card, It's great. It's great. What are the chances, says Drive Ice? Thank you for the bits. What do you think the chances are that Bond left because she was passed over for promotion? And what are the chances that Spencer agreed on bypassing Bond? I think even if Phil Spencer liked Bond back in the day when he brought her on, it's pretty clear that the vision she had and the direction she was taking Xbox in was not working. You don't need to be a genius to see it. So I think, he probably would agree. She probably shouldn't lead it. And maybe she did honestly quit. I'm getting the vibe much more that Satya told her, Asha's going to be in charge. Matt's being promoted. We don't see a spot for you in the new leadership because we're taking it in the literal opposite direction of where you've been taking it. So we would recommend, I'll accept your resignation if you can offer it. I think that's what happened. And that's pretty common in like leadership positions, executive positions. For example, when Don Matrick, who was in charge of the whole Xbox One era and drove it into the ground, he should have been fired. Did he get fired? No. He resigned and went to another company. He went to Zynga, a mobile game company, and technically got promoted. So it's pretty common that executives don't get fired unless something really, really, really bad happens. Usually they are welcomed to resign. And that's what I think happened here. But going back to Asha's credentials, it is true that you don't need to be a gamer to be a good executive. Very, very clearly, you don't need to be a gamer to be a good executive, and to know how to make the best games possible. For example, Strauss Zelnick, this is the guy behind GTA 6.
I don't play video games
at all.
No, I do not. I'm not the consumer in chief. I am responsible
so when they show you the game,
right?
Do you offer notes on the game? How does that work?
I share my opinions pretty openly. I think being the consumer in chief in an entertainment business as the CEO is probably a mistake. I wasn't the consumer in chief in the movie business or the television business or the music business, even though, I certainly can read a script and I definitely love music and I was a musician. That's not my role. My role is to attract, retain, and motivate the best talent in the business and then get out of their way.
Can we all take a moment and snap an agreement? I can't believe I just did that. I'm so sorry. It's like music to my ears. My job is to attract the best talent and get out of their way. And he is somebody who is very openly not a gamer. Okay. His whole point, and this was his philosophy when he worked in TV and in movies, was if you are as he said, consumer in chief, if you're the guy consuming the content, it often clouds your judgment because you have strong preferences and tastes and desires for what you would like to see, which sounds good at first, but then you realize that will taint your opinion because it's no longer about what the audience and what the consumer wants. It's about what you want. That works if you happen to have tastes perfectly in line with the mass public, with your target audience, with your customer base. But that's not always going to be the case. Sometimes it will be the case. Other times it won't be. And so what you need to be able to do as an executive is to understand that maybe you don't know everything and that you should trust the creatives and empower them in the best way you can. And that's what he has done demonstrably. He's literally in charge of the company building the most anticipated video game product in history. And he also has run the company through its golden age of pushing GTA Online, Red Dead 2, in addition to all the other stuff that they also own, like Borderlands and NBA, 2K and Mafia, all that stuff. This is the same guy that specifically greenlit Mafia the Old Country, a small budget, AA scale game that's narrative, that's not filled with microtransactions, that's not filled with any of this crap. And he greenlit it specifically because of the tighter vision, and it ended up being profitable. They made money on it. despite people saying the game was bad because you can't swim, which is dumb. Very dumb. But he said in a statement, like I think it was at an earnings call, he said, our thesis proved correct that if you have a well-managed, well-created game with a compelling story and characters, and it's properly scoped, meaning it's not a $300 million 12-hour game, you can connect with an audience and be profitable. And that's what they did with Mafia: The Old Country. Like, this is the guy, okay? This is the guy. He understands what he's doing. I think he also understands there's things you can get away with like sports games you can't get away with in other places, which is why he doesn't try to mix and match them like companies like EA have done. He keeps each of the different business vectors separate, and he understands it. So you can have somebody who is not a gamer who runs a phenomenal gaming company that puts out masterpieces. Okay, it's possible. It can happen. So anybody who being like Asha is not a gamer means that this is gonna suck. That, I think that's incredibly short-sighted and naive. I don't think that that's the case. I think it's just not. Now, where I get frustrated is when somebody is pretending to be a gamer, like especially if you start to behave in that way where it's like, we all know that you're not grinding out World of Warcraft. We all know that you're not grinding out Call of Duty multiplayer missions. Like, you're an executive. Like, come on, you know. But I think that is a holdover from like Phil Spencer's era, because Phil was like a well-known gamer, like very well-known gamer. His Xbox profile was public. You could see what games he was playing at any given moment. And he was a diehard gamer. He very much was a consumer in chief. You know, he played the games and he was very passionate about it, which made people really love him and like it. I think the flip side of that though is that now that's like the culture, and now there's this like parasocial relationship that even everyday Xbox gamers have with like Phil Spencer, where they feel like he's a buddy, he's a friend of theirs, when it's like, he's a Microsoft executive. Like, I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he's great. I'm sure he's fun to hang out with, but like, don't get it twisted. He's not your best friend. Okay. He's just not. Neither is Asha. Neither is Strauss Zelnick. Neither of any of these. They're not your friends. They're executives. Okay. They're running a business, but he helped people in Fallout 76, I believe. Yeah. Actually, if you don't know, our like top TikTok ever, 7.3 million views. Sorry, not sorry. Funny. Somebody was playing Fallout 76 and came across a guy whose username was P3. Now, if you don't know, P3 is a username that Phil Spencer uses. In fact, his handle on Twitter is Xbox P3. They thought that this might have been Phil Spencer playing, so they started trading and emoting and stuff. Like, he was giving him a certain number of objects that would give him an achievement, and then they checked afterwards, found the achievement for this thing that he got, and it lined up with the time period. So this is Phil Spencer. Like, that's the CEO of Xbox that he just ran into in the game. How crazy is that? But this is why, like, I kind of like Phil Spencer. He's an actual gamer. Like, I don't think you would ever see Jim Ryan casually in a game, because I don't think he's a gamer. Oh, did Phil also reply? Oh, yeah, he did. He totally did. Phil Spencer, this was very nice of you. Thanks. Heels are always welcome. So, actual gamer. Real gamer dude, right? You can actually run into him in games. But that, I think, also clouded some people's judgment and made them think that, like, he's an actual like buddy of theirs, when it's like, understand the distinction. But yeah, Lord Zin Cross, thank you for that. Legit, do we actually believe Asha is a Strauss, or is Strauss material? Like, do we for real? Well, to be clear, Strauss is somebody who's been in position for a long time and has earned his status for sure at this point. But he didn't have that status until he earned it. So I'll never say never. Asha very well may end up being an executive even better than Strauss. Never say never. But as of right now, there's no reason to think that she is, other than just, again, the distinction that you don't have to be a gamer to be a good gaming executive. I think it helps a lot of the time. And what is more specifically worrying to me about all of this has to do with this reply. So Danny mentioned this. I find it hilarious when people think you need to be a gamer to be a CEO of a gaming company. Unlocking achievements isn't going to help you sell a console or games. There's a long list of executives who have changed gaming because they're good at the business side, not by how many hours they've played a game, which I said is absolutely true. Strauss is a fantastic executive and not a gamer at all. The real question is whether an AI executive runs a gaming company the way that gamers want. And I think that's the point. Just like Darusta says in chat, Asha's background is in AI. That worries me. I think that's the key takeaway. It's not that she's not a gamer. It's that her background is specifically in something that most gamers detest. Okay, so that's the distinction. She doesn't need to be a gamer to be a good executive. My concern for her, and the reason why I said in the immediate reaction to this news, the reason why I said that she's one of the worst picks that I could think of, is because her background is in AI, and specifically agentic tools. So her whole thing is about creating AI tools that replace employees. I don't like that. That if she comes to Xbox and does that, actually screwed. Now, it could be that what she said in her statement, she actually believes, because what she said in her statement was not what people expected her to say, which was not chasing short-term efficiency or gains or profit using AI tools, no doubt, but rather to build and to revitalize the company, blah, blah, blah. If she actually means what she said in that statement, then I think we're looking good. My point is, you should not trust what any executive at any company tells you, even if they're nice, even if they say nice things on Twitter, even like, stop it. Okay. Again, these are multi-billion dollar, in the case of Microsoft, multi-trillion dollar corporations. They do not care. Okay. They'll tell you whatever they need you to hear to make you smile, laugh, and nod. And then they're going to do what they're going to do regardless. I will believe it when I see it, but I am not going to just blindly be like, oh, I think she'll be great because people were like, well, she said she liked Halo on Twitter. Like, okay, cool. Anybody can do that. Okay. Anybody can do that. A literal robot can do that. That doesn't mean that they'll be taking the company in a good direction. Continuing on, Xbox led the way in consumer-friendly decisions like crossplay or allowing consumers to buy a game once and play it across both PC and console, which is genuinely a great feature. The Xbox Play Anywhere system is legitimately awesome, that you can buy a game, play it on your console, and then continue where you left off on PC. That's legitimately awesome. I've said for like a year and a half at this point that they should continue doubling down. That should be the selling point for Game Pass. And for Xbox's push, not the Play Anywhere thing. It should be instead, you buy one copy and play anywhere. Instead of everything's an Xbox, stream your games through your phone and TV. Like, don't do that. Focus on the fact that if you buy it with us, you get it everywhere. It's a small, seemingly shift, but I think it has much more significant impact. Under Spencer's watch, Game Pass has also forced competitors to offer similar subscription services. Spencer is also departing at a time when the Xbox Series S and X generation has failed to put a dent in Sony's PlayStation sales, and during a period of turmoil in the games industry and within Xbox. Layoffs and studio closures have plagued the Xbox division after the Activision Blizzard acquisition, and there are big questions about Microsoft's gaming acquisitions, the side effects of its Game Pass push, and the future of the Xbox console itself. Spencer won't be here to answer them anymore. Sharma now has the opportunity to define the next 25 years of Xbox, and we're about to find out if she can turn Xbox around and execute on a clearer strategy. Quote, the next 25 years belongs to the teams who dare to try to build something surprising, something no one else is willing to try, and have the patience to see it through, says Sharma. We have done this before, and I am here to help us do it again. And I hope that that's what happens. I truly, truly hope that that is what happens. I'll believe it when I see it. I will just believe it when I see it. I've heard so much of this stuff from so many executives, and every one of them, I think, not every one of them, some of them have good intentions. But like, you're talking about like multi-millionaires who often don't play the games you play. They're not hopping on Discord with their friends at night to play games. They are out of touch with your experience. And so they do not know what you like or what you want. They just don't. I think Sarah Bond had good intentions, but she was fundamentally out of touch with her target audience. And that clouded her vision. Same with Don Matrick. Nick Tech said, one drove the Xbox into the ground and the other put the nail in the coffin. Don Matrick butchered the Xbox One with an always online requirement, said the following, quote, fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity, meaning an internet connection. It's called Xbox 360, which drove customers away. He literally told Jeff Keighley, if you don't like the always online connectivity thing, buy the last gen console. Made the Kinect mandatory at launch, which was patently insane. Now reports are coming that Sarah Bond is responsible for the following. Going multi-platform and the Xbox Everywhere thing was her idea. Didn't care about employees' perception of her ad campaign idea of this is an Xbox. Her decisions is what led to extremely low console sales, and people in the company are relieved that she is gone. Xbox as a brand can't seem to take a break from leaders that keep making idiotic decisions, driving the brand to complete failure. I'm really hoping hoping that the future of Xbox changes its trajectory to become a good brand again by winning the gamers back. And here's where I come to my section of what I think they should do. Please join me now as we bring out the true great tool that will unify us all in harmony and matrimony. Maybe not matrimony. Don't quote me on that. Of course, MS Paint. Let's talk about this. What I think they should do. Number one. I think you gotta build the brand. Yeah, I can't write. Brand. There we go. Build the brand. Xbox as a brand has been taking an ever-loving beating. Dare I say the technical term in business? They've been taking a fisting day in, day out. Seriously, it's raw at this point. I don't know how they could end up lower. Nobody really respects the brand. Xbox literally means nothing at this point. Like, by their own definition, it means nothing. Everything is an Xbox, which means nothing. To quote a famous poet, Syndrome, from the famous Shakespearean work, The Incredibles. When everyone's super, no one will be. When everything's an Xbox, nothing will be. I added the last part. Like, truly, if you try to make everything into an Xbox, whether it's your TV, your phone, your PC, whatever, it means that nothing is, and it diminishes the value of the brand. It means that nobody even knows what you're even talking about anymore when you're talking about Xbox. The messaging has been terrible as well. That's the second thing. I think number two, you've got to have clear messaging. The fact, it's two S's, messaging. There we go. That works. Messaging. You've got to have clear messaging. The fact that when we would have a news story break that Xbox reportedly is going to abandon the next gen of consoles, the fact that story was believable should be the wake-up call to the executives that, hey, our messaging is really freaking bad. Like, the fact that people believe that we might abandon consoles altogether while they're working and spending millions on developing it should be like, oh God, what are we doing wrong? The fact that that's believable is insane. If you read a story that Sony is considering not releasing a PlayStation 6, you'd be like, yeah, I don't believe that for a second. That's insane. Why wouldn't they? With Xbox, you're like, checks out. Yep. That's a problem. Okay. So you need clear messaging so that there is no confusion. And that means you've got to say something and stick to it for the years that follow. You can't pivot every 6 months to a new strategy trying to do something differently because you didn't get immediate payoff and success. And that's, I think, brings me to number three, which is commit. For the love of God. They've bounced around so many times with different things that there's been just a total, I had to double check that there were two M's in commit. I'm pretty sure, but it looks weird. You know when you spell something, you're like, that looks weird. It looked weird to me. They've got to commit. They've so often over the last 5 years, they do something, they try it for 6 months, and then like, that didn't work. Okay, never mind. Try this. And it leads to instability where the audience doesn't know what they're going to get. They don't know where you actually sit on anything. It doesn't work. You can't build an ecosystem when nobody knows if the ecosystem will exist in its current form in a year. That's a problem. So you've got to commit. Clear messaging, build the brand, commit. I also think part of building the brand, part of all of this, people are going to disagree with this, and that's fine. It's totally fine. But this is just, I think, the easiest and fastest way to immediately distinguish yourself from the last decade. Because I think part of this is about telling your customers things are going to be different because they don't like how it's been. So if you want to turn the ship around, and get everybody on board, you got to show them we're serious. We're going in a different direction. The easiest way to do that, I think, is number 4, exclusives. You got to fulfill your obligations. I think Fable, all of those games, Forza, I think those all are cross-platform. That'll be fine. I think you need exclusives for like a year at a time. I think you release it on Xbox and the PC app, possibly even Steam too. We'll just say PC. But I think you got to do that. And then that's like for a year. Okay. So like for 1 year, and then you bring it to PS5 or I guess 6 after a little while. And Game Pass after that point. I think if you do that, things will work way better. Golly gosh darn snake hips. Detective Seeds just gifted 20 memberships. I almost said subs. 20 memberships to the YouTube community. That's crazy. Thank you, my friend. Incredibly generous. Thank you, Detective Seeds. Appreciate you. That's ridiculous. If you just got a membership, get in the Discord. Get in the Discord. You can join us and you can share memes and stuff with us. We have a great time. Connect your YouTube account to your Discord account and you can join us and see things like this from Owie. Before Xbox, I'll make Xbox great again with AI. You can share memes, okay? Join us, my friends. Join us. Join us, please. I think if you do this, this will work out much better. You can have it be exclusive to the Xbox and PC, give people a reason to be on the platform, and then you can bring it over, do the cross-platform thing, get sales, and build out the Game Pass library after the fact. But I think you need to treat it just like PlayStation does, because I think that actually retains the value of the brand / console, which is important. Again, what they've been doing is that they have been expanding their reach into other tents, but their tent has been shrinking, and that clearly they're not happy about that. If they want to go the other direction, they've got to build the tent, and I think the easiest way to do that is with some level of exclusivity for your games. And I think doing it this way will signal to so many people we are different than the Sarah Bond, Phil Spencer era. We're going in a different direction, okay? We're gonna give you a reason. But these things only really work if they're all together, okay? They only really work if they're all together. If you do this exclusive thing and you do it for 6 months, that doesn't work. You release 2 games as like the timed exclusive on your platform and then bring it over. That doesn't work. I don't think that works. You got to commit. You got to do it for years. And it's not going to happen overnight. Over time, people are going to be like, damn, yeah, the new Gears looks really, really good. Oh man. Yeah, that looks really, really good. Elder Scrolls 6 is exclusive. I might need to get an Xbox for that. Or I can wait 6 months. I could do that, but I really want to play it at launch. Like, you got to commit so people know what to expect. And that also comes with clear messaging so that people understand what's happening. If you come out and say, Asha comes out and says, hey, in the future, our first party studio games exclusive to our platform for 6 months or a year or something, then they're going to go to other platforms, be cross-platform in that way, and we'll go and launch on Game Pass. But we're going to sell them to our fan base at day one, and it's going to be exclusive on the platform for 6 months to a year. That's what we're doing. Then players can plan around that. Black Friday comes along. They're like, hey, I know that this game comes out next spring. I'm going to buy a console now to be prepared for it. That's how you do it. But you got to be clear. You got to commit to it. That will help you build the brand. And I think, again, the easiest way to do that is with exclusives. There's a reason why PlayStation has done it, why Nintendo does it, because it works. And I think that's a long-term commitment. It's not chasing short-term gain, but I think that will help a lot. It'll help a lot. The other thing, and I guess last thing before I catch up on super chats and everything, everybody, thank you for those, is just a bucket list. Okay. Transparency. With AI stuff, you just got to be transparent, man. Like, you got to be clear. I understand it's a hot button issue. That's why it needs to be transparent, why you got to communicate it. If there's questions as to whether they're using AI tools here or how they're doing it, it's just a red hot potato you don't need. You don't need. Just be transparent about it. If you say, hey, this is our tech stack, this is how we're using AI in our workflows, so you can understand, that's what it is. Just put it out there, get ahead of it, move on. But that's what I think they need to do. We'll see if it happens, if any of that happens. Realistically, I think that they probably just restructure Game Pass. I think that there will be massive layoffs. I think they'll start using AI everywhere, and they'll lay off even more people because of that. And they'll probably double down on the cross-platform stuff. And I think that's probably going to be the reality of where they go. I hope it's not. But I can't get over the fact that, again, they hired a former core AI team lead, and I don't love that. So that's where I think they're going. Rambling Entertained, thank you for the 10. Microsoft trying to escape GOAT Sarah Bond when Phil Spencer has been pushing Xbox everywhere is crazy. His pitch to Satya to keep the brand included the potential cloud and AI integration for consumers. To be clear, I don't think that like all of this lands just at her feet. Okay. I do think clearly she's not the CEO. She was president. And she was like, the specific thing is that after the 2024 layoffs, or not layoffs, departures, she was basically directly in charge of the marketing team, which is probably why she was able to push the Xbox Anywhere thing, because she didn't have any resistance. All of the resistance was gone. They had all quit, probably because she was tough to work with, according to people that spoke to The Verge. So I think that like Phil being the CEO, he still went along with this. Like clearly he was okay with the direction they were going at some point. I don't think it takes a genius to figure out today it wasn't working. But yeah, I don't think like Phil is free of blame in all of this. I think, you know, because he was at the top and he decided to resign, it gave Microsoft an excuse to do a major shakeup and pivot the team and take it in a new direction. And they said, okay, well, we're not going to take it in Sarah's direction. And so she became a bit of the scapegoat. I think she and Phil made consistently poor decisions, taking the company in the wrong direction. It just seems like a lot of those ideas originated with her, according to people who are speaking about it.
He took my thing.